Hi, second graders. Welcome to day 5 of our place value module. Today, our objective is I can compare and order numbers up to 1,000. So we're going to start by comparing the numbers 465 and 540. And we're going to start by doing this on a hundreds, tens, and ones chart. So I'm going to build it using base 10 blocks, but you could also always just use your paper to draw out the chart and draw in those base 10 blocks. So let's start with our number 465. I have 5 ones, 6 tens, and 4 hundreds. Now let's build 540. So I don't have any ones. I have 4 tens, and I have 5 hundreds. So when I'm comparing numbers, what I do is I start in my biggest place value. Now let's think about this. Would the biggest place value be hundreds, tens, or ones? So I always think if it's the biggest, I want more of it, like pizza, I want more. Would I rather have 100 pizzas or just one pizza? Hundreds is the biggest. So I start by looking at the biggest place value. So my hundreds. So in 465, I have 4 hundreds. In 540, I have 5 hundreds. Well, which one's bigger? Which one would you want? Would you want only 4 hundreds? Or would you want 5 hundreds? There's more with 5 hundreds, so I know that 540 is the bigger number. I don't even necessarily need to look at my tens or ones because I already know that if I have 5 hundreds compared to 4 hundreds, the 5 hundreds is bigger. So even though you see more blocks under my 465, that doesn't mean it's a bigger number because the hundreds are worth more. So the way we write this is 465 is less than 540. Do you see this little sideways triangle? This is the greater than or less than symbol. So the side that's open always opens up to the bigger number. I know sometimes I like to pretend that there's little alligator teeth in here and it's like an alligator's mouth, and they like to eat the bigger number. So they always open up to the bigger number. So 465 is less than 540. Let's try another one. Now we have the number 237 and 267. So let's build both of those numbers. 237 and 267. So remember, we always start in our biggest place value. So we have our hundreds is the biggest one. So in this one, I have 2 hundreds for 237. And this one for 267, I also have 2 hundreds. So if I'm only looking at the hundreds place value, they're both equal. So that means I have to go to the next biggest place value, which would be the tens. So for 237, I have 3 tens. For 267, I have 6 tens. So which one's bigger, 3 or 6? Well, 6 is bigger, so that means my number 276 is bigger or greater than 237. So again, I'm going to write it as my greater than and less than sign. So I put my 237 is less than 267. So remember, pretend like we have little alligator teeth. It's opening up to my bigger number because I knew that 6 tens was more than 3 tens. So now let's try 125 and 123. Go ahead and build this one with me. So go ahead and draw out 2 charts with an H, T, O. And the first number that you're going to draw is 125. So draw your box for 100, 2 straight lines for the tens, and 5 circles for the ones. Now let's build our 123. So again, we're going to have a square for the 100, 2 lines for the 2 tens, and 3 circles for the 3 ones. All right, now let's compare our two numbers. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to put my finger on both of the hundreds. So if I'm looking at the hundreds, I see 125 has 100, and 123 has 100. Oh, do you remember what that means? We have to go next door to the tens. Let's look at the tens. 125 has 2 tens. 123 has 2 tens. They're both the same still. So that means we need to go next door again. Now we're down to the ones. 125 has 5 ones. 123 has 3 ones. So which one has more ones? 125. All right, I want you to write this number sentence with me. So now we have 125 is greater than 123. Do you see how we flipped our sign to go the other way for this one? 5 is the bigger one, so we want the mouth opening up to the bigger number. All right, let's try another one. Let's do 123 and 65. So go ahead and draw your HTO charts. And let's start by drawing 123. Hopefully you have your square for your 100, 2 tens, and 3 ones. All right, now draw another HTO chart. This time you're going to build 65. Are you going to have any hundreds? No, this is just a 2-digit number. So that means I have my ones and I have my tens. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. All right, so let's compare these. I look at my hundreds first, right? So over here for 123, I can see I have 100. Now I'm looking at 65 and I see I have 6 right here, but are those hundreds? No. I look at my hundreds first. Does it have any hundreds? Nope. So I already know which one is bigger because this one has 1. This one has none. That means this one has to be bigger, and this was our 123. So when we write it out, we have 123 is greater than, mouth opening towards it, 65. All right, let's compare 827 and 730. So now this time, instead of building it on the HTO chart, I'm just going to use the numbers. And when I use the numbers, I line them up one right on top of the other. Notice how my hundreds are in line, my tens are in line, and my ones are in line. Because then I know I need to look at the biggest place value, my hundreds. And I can see that this one has an 8, this one has a 7. So I know that this 827 is bigger because I'd rather have 800 pizzas than just 700 pizzas. So the way we write that is 827 is greater than 730. Now let's have you try this one with me. Now we're going to compare 95 and 120. So again, I'm going to write those numbers one right on top of the other. But notice 95 only has a number in the tens and the ones, whereas 120 had a number in the hundreds, tens, and ones. So I have to make sure that my ones are lined up, my tens are lined up, and my hundreds are lined up, even if there aren't any hundreds. Because I know that hundreds is the biggest place value, and so even though there isn't here, I could almost put a 0 right there and pretend like it, because then I'm comparing 0 hundreds to 100. Well, which one's bigger, 0 or 1? 1 is bigger. So that means 120 is the greater number. So when we write our sentence, we're going to write 95 is less than 120. Ready to try one on your own? Let's compare 561 and 700. Go ahead and line your numbers on top of each other, making sure to line up your hundreds, your tens, and your ones. After you do that, figure out which number is bigger. If you want, sometimes I like to circle which number is bigger. And then write your sentence with the greater than or less than sign. So you can write 561, and then put either greater than or less than, open that mouth to the bigger number, and 700. Let's see, so hopefully you lined up your numbers like this. You were looking at your hundreds, 5 or 7, which one is bigger? Hopefully you knew that 700 was bigger, and so you wrote 561 is less than 700. All right, the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to compare 3 different numbers. So now we have 125, 172, and 170. So let's line all 3 of those numbers up, lining up our hundreds, lining up our tens, lining up our ones. All right, let's look in our hundreds. They all have 1. They're all the same. So then we go to the next one. Ooh, this one has a 2. So in my mind, I'm going to remember this one has a 2, so this one has to be the smallest. So then that leaves me with these last 2 numbers that I have to go down and look all the way in the ones. This one has a 0, and this one has a 2. So I know that 172 is the biggest. And now what I can do is I can write all 3 numbers from least to greatest. So remember, 125 was the smallest because it only had 2 tens. So 125 is less than 170, because that was our middle number. And 170 is less than 172. Remember how it had those 2 ones, which made it bigger than this one? So I can write 3 numbers going across using my greater than or less than sign. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to do an online practice on Canvas. Your first question is just choosing which number is bigger, and this one I have the base 10 blocks for you to see. You'll just choose A or B. Next, you're going to compare these 3 numbers, and you're going to pick which one is the least, so the smallest. Number 3, you're also going to pick the least. Is it 250, 20, or 25? Write your answer in the box. And then number 4, it says which number is the greatest or the biggest. So you'll write your answer in the box. And then the last one is just like our last practice that we did. You're going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. So just choose which option is the correct one. And for any of these, if you need to draw out your HTO chart and draw out the base 10 blocks to help you, or if you just need to put those numbers right on top of each other and line them up with the hundreds, tens, and ones, feel free to do that on scratch paper so that you can better answer these problems.